Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's webcast, we're trying to do something that's impossible. We're trying to predict the future of the technology sector. I'm not sure anyone can ever do that. Technology changes way too quickly. But if anyone can forecast the future of tech, it's the 5 top experts we have with us, really some major thought leaders. So let's meet the panel and make some bold predictions. With me today is Lori Rosano, Senior Vice President, North American Public Cloud for SAP. Lori, good to have you with us today.
Thank you, Jim. I'm excited to be here.
Also with me is Beena Ammanath, Global Head of Deloitte's AI Institute. Hello to you, Beena.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
And Beena, didn't you publish a book sometime recently? Or what is the book you put out?
Well, there are 2 that came out in the last 3 years. One is Trustworthy AI, and the other one is Zero Latency Leadership.
Okay. Sounds like pretty serious topics. Also with me today is Ryan Manning, Vice President, Product Management at BMC Software. Ryan, good to have you and your insights with us today.
Jim, great to be here.
Also on board is Chad Dunn, Vice President of Product Management, AI and Data Management for Dell. And Chad, that sounds like a lot to manage AI and data. That's a big job.
And there's a lot to manage, but all of AI is based on data, so it's the right place to be.
There you go. And rounding out our panel is Nabil Bukhari, Chief Technology and Product Officer for Extreme Networks, and someone who really knows his stuff. Hello to you, Nabil.
Hey, James, it's always good to be back. And as you said, let's predict some future. What could go wrong?
Exactly. We will be embarrassed. Looking back a year from now, we were very embarrassed at what we said. But we're trying. All right, first let's look at where we are right now here in 2024. It's been a really big year. I would call it a transformational year. What major tech trend most shaped this year, and in what way? Beena, what did you see for the year 2024?
I think there are quite a few. In the last few months, it's been more about AI, the rise of AI agents, agentic AI. It's just come up in the last few months. But prior to that, everything that we saw around content creation, how good it became and how realistic, it just changed everybody's perception of what AI could achieve if done right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the nature of the deepfakes. I don't think we've seen the worst of deepfakes yet, but in terms of the realistic content creation, that is amazing. Nabil, what do you see for 2024? What's been really big in your mind?
Oh, God. I think if I say anything other than AI, the crowd will throw tomatoes at me.
It's so true. You might surprise us, though. You never know.
But I'll take a slightly different angle on the AI. I think the thing that shaped the year for most of our customers and us, what we're seeing is the tale of 2 cities when it comes to AI. On one side, super useful, super valuable. On the other side, the complete dud, both at the same time, as well as, people jumping head, feet, legs first into it and lots of investment going into it. But at the same time, a lot of people struggle in defining the ROI on that investment. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, everybody's talking about AI, but especially in the upper leadership of enterprise, AI literacy is in its infancy, right? There's very few AI literate leaders out there. So I think that's really the context. It's the tale of 2 cities, right? On one side, it's just the most amazing, spectacular thing ever possible. And on the other side, very hard to put an ROI on that. So I would say that kind of shaped the year, at least the way I looked at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a Charles Dickens reference. It's pretty impressive to me. I give you credit for that. Ryan, your sense of 2024, it's a big year. What did you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it feels like, 23 was about folks getting comfortable with Gen AI, and then 24 rolled around and everyone remembered that you can't have an AI strategy without a data strategy. So as was mentioned, we also saw the emergence of agentic AI, and these agents are super hungry for large enterprise data workloads. So we've seen a lot of customers want us building AI agents to actually help with the data problem and help get their data in one place. Yeah.
Definitely. Chad, you mentioned data. It's right up your alley. What did you see for 2024?
Well, we saw sort of this transition from the tier 2 cloud service providers who are building out infrastructure to do training of foundational and frontier models to now the adoption of the enterprise, where the mandate is go with AI, find something that works. And so it's pilots everywhere. In every line of business, there are multiple pilots. And now we're coming to that rationalization to say, where's the ROI? where we're going to place the emphasis on our development going forward, and how we're going to realize those outcomes. So now it's going to get real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pressure's on. Laura, you're big in the cloud world. What did you see for 2024?
Yeah, so to add to that, relative to AI, automation was a really defining trend for us. So in terms of just streamlining the processes and the operations and such, but we experienced that firsthand serving our customers around public cloud. And the one thing that really stood out to me was the automation allows for work and systems to continue without any disruption or fatigue. So it's really kind of neat about it is it bridges those gaps. When you think about automation, it allows us to deliver and consume and to basically curate these high quality product and services that really truly make it accessible to even some populations or underserved markets that couldn't have access before. So again, just like around that software as a service, the automation I believe is going to continue to get more streamlined and more important to customers that are, putting together their cloud transformation strategy.
No doubt, automation is a huge part of the picture. All right, let's look ahead and actually make a prediction for the year ahead. So what do leaders and managers need to know about tech's evolution for 2025? What's important for them to keep in mind as they strategize? In other words, what's going to happen and how can we get ready for it? Ryan, your advice?
Yeah, I think we're entering an era of reimagining corporate IT cost structures, at least on my side of the house. I think for years and years, we all have been building software to make human beings more productive, and we've had to build, at least our salespeople have had to build these complex value engineering models to try to prove it to, say, a CIO, and they've always kind of looked at it as maybe a little fantasyland math. But I think next year, agentic AI is going to legitimize that work. I really think we can sit up in front of an executive and show them a value forecast that's grounded in truth, and they'll keep a straight face this time.
Yeah, no doubt. I see agentic AI seems to be the biggest strength in AI. It's just like it's what everyone's talking about. Chad, your sense of next year, how can companies get ready for next year?
I think next year it becomes all about the use case that they want to target and making sure that they're picking the right use cases, ones that are close to their core competencies, ones that are close to their differentiators. If you're a software company, don't bring in AI to try to replace your HR systems. You're going to get that for free from your HR provider. But really focus on those areas that differentiate. I think we've seen a lot of horizontal patterns that have worked their way down through vertical use cases. So RAG and inferencing is rife across the enterprises right now for different use cases. Look for those to get more focused. Look for smaller models, more efficiency, and more agentic workflows.
Laura, your sense of what's going to happen next year, 2025, what's your prediction?
Yeah, so more and more leaders and organizations are really going to lead with a cloud-first mindset. So in terms of that, you must have the deep passion and enthusiasm, and it must be authentic. So when you think about the way that we have enhanced collaboration, it's really neat now. We're inspired to have different shared workplaces. So I think in terms of just really leaning in, folks are going to have to continue to adapt to the change. That's going to be changes in their own processes, the way they go to market, the way they hire, the way they create different levels of engagement and discipline in their organizations. And I think we're going to start seeing, which has been really kind of neat to experience firsthand too with the public cloud team, is just this continuous environment of learning. So again, the diversity of skills, the cross-pollination of what people bring to the organization, and then really how you deploy that and materialize it into an offering or a solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned a cloud-first strategy. Are most companies not already doing that? I want to make sure I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of organizations that have invested heavily over the last couple of years in building that cloud infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So they're going to leapfrog, right? So they built they have the ingredients now to fuel AI, and they're putting together even more refined cloud strategies. Some organizations, depending on where they are on their own current path or their journey, are starting to invest. And candidly, they're going to need to in order to remain competitive. So I think there's a lot of different populations, a lot of different requirements and different personas or DNAs. But those that have made the investment, that's where we're seeing the more provocative type of solutions and innovations that are coming from those organizations.
All right, makes sense. Nabil, your prediction for 2025?
Oh gosh, my first prediction is that all of these will probably turn out.
Well, let's be optimistic a little bit, can't we?
Well, I'm gonna try anyways, right? So a couple of these things. I think one of the things that I see is that maybe 3/4 or more of the investment or the projects on AI will fail in 2025, and that's actually a good thing. because then we can slowly get out of this hype cycle and this froth that is built up in the system, and we can go back to the basics of what's the use case, what's the return on that investment, what's the value. Because right now, this is almost like a tech race. It's like kind of like, I want to use that model because my neighbor is using it, right? So we really need to get out of that, and that amount of failure will really help us get out of that. That's one thing. Second thing I would say, I go back to leadership. Look, there's amazing technology out there. This is not the first time. Yes, this is amazing, but there have been other groundbreaking, reality-changing technologies that have happened in the past. AI literacy at the top, at the C-suite and the board, will become an absolute must. And I think in 2024 we haven't put enough focus on that. And agentic AI, I agree with my peers here. Agentic AI would be really interesting, but I would again say that instead of the tech, if you look at the use case, the actual use case is digital workforce. Agentic AI will translate into digital workforce, right, but that will open up a whole slew of issues, especially around how do you take your human workforce and digital workforce and combine them together in a productive and efficient way. So I think these are the three topics that I feel will dominate 2025, and hopefully we'll come out on the right end of it. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, combining humans with agentic AI is definitely going to be an issue in the years ahead. Beena, your sense, what do you predict for 2025?
I think one topic my peers haven't touched on, which I see will come up, is domain-specific large language models, right? And today we are seeing a little bit around the functions, like a finance-specific LLM or a HR-specific LLM, but I'm talking about having a manufacturing-specific or a drug discovery-specific LLM. So you're going to see more and more of that kind of LLMs coming to the forefront. The other one is really around compliance and AI regulations. The EU AI Act is kicking in, and we will see that cascading throughout the world. So AI compliance, AI regulations is going to become more real. There's going to be even more of it. But my hope is also that it's going to be more nuanced, right? We come up with regulations that doesn't stifle innovation, but at the same time puts in the guardrails that's necessary.
Yeah.
On the regulation piece, it amazes me. It feels like, and Beena, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're close to this space, that AI remains very almost non-regulated at this point, given its power and influence. Would you agree with that?
I don't. I actually think it is regulated depending on the industry, because there are industries that are highly regulated, and the same regulations apply to when AI comes in. Of course, AI comes with its own nuances, and it may expose certain weaknesses within the existing regulations. But at a high level, if you look at healthcare or financial services, traditional industries have existing regulations that does encompass on how AI is being used. So on the applied AI side, I think that there is more coverage. It's on where foundational models are created, or where, pure technology is created, that there is a lack of regulations.
Okay. All right. So what about a surprise for next year? What significant surprise in the tech sector do you foresee as possible next year? What's going to shock us? Nabil, what's going to shock us next year?
Oh, God. Some of my colleagues, Lori, you're not going to like what I'm going to say here, but
she can take it, Nabil.
I think the whole public cloud equation will have to evolve. Because I think AI kind of brings in all of these concerns. And I'm not talking about, training your massive large language models. That can be done in the public cloud. That's fine. But I think combining with what Beena is saying, and I think somebody else mentioned, I think Chad was mentioning the data part. I think we will go towards more specialized small language models. And by the way, it's not just all generative AI. Even in today's AI application, generative part is about 20%. The rest is the good old machine learning, in a lot of cases. So I think local inferencing will become more and more important. And in some cases, it will be bringing the model to the data rather than the data to the model. I actually believe that some of the highly regulated industries, how the model is actually trained and developed, that will come under a lot of scrutiny. So what we are seeing is that we're starting to see some of the larger organizations really start to think about that. Yes, on one side, there's still workloads that are transitioning to the public cloud, no problem at all. But on the other side, they're starting to think about what is my local data inferencing kind of strategy on AI. That's one part. The second thing that will surprise us is that we will probably move, and this could surprise us, that operative word, that we could move past the SaaS application age. Because right now what's happening is that, there's an app for it. There's like 10,000 apps. It used to be on the consumer side, now on the enterprise side, there's an app for everything. But the problem is that all of those apps come with their own data models, with their own siloed operating models around, how you govern data and how do you manage it. And then, yeah, sure, there are APIs on top of it, but try, converging these applications through APIs and good luck with that, right? That's a mess and a half. Mm-hmm. So I think we might move away from SaaS applications to the good old world of platforms, which brings in a whole slew of other problems. But these could be the two surprising things that could happen in 2025. We'll see.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
I don't think I would be surprised if any of those things happen. I think we're very much on the same wavelength, because when we look at the cost of performing generative AI, whether it's training or inferencing or fine tuning, we're seeing much more of that happen on-prem. We're actually seeing sort of repatriation of those kinds of workloads out of public cloud on-prem much faster than we saw repatriation of certain workloads that didn't fit into public cloud when we all sort of ran there a few years ago. So that cycle is happening much more quickly. And what we repeatedly told our customers, bring AI to your data. Don't bring your data to AI. And we're seeing that happen time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I saw a study from Barclays where 83% of CIOs plan on returning workloads to the private cloud. It's really interesting, and I mean, we have some of our customers that are going as far as thinking that they could monetize their own proprietary data, so they're getting quite selfish with it. So I'm just total in agreement with my peers here.
Mm-hmm. Lori, I believe that Nabil mentioned a cloud and the need for cloud to evolve. Agree, disagree with his comments?
Yeah, so I agree with my peers. That's not such disagree, but I think that's what's been really, really insightful to see how we've designed this. So from a cloud ERP perspective, speaking of public cloud and private cloud, so what we've experienced now serving our clients is hybrid cloud. So we have the best of both worlds. So when you think about the large enterprise, we deliver that through Rise with SAP, which is our private cloud edition. Then we have the diversity to handle, some of the other additional workloads or the incubation, the mergers, the acquisitions, some of that activity that's really inspiring that creation, right? To do some of the future technology or built into their strategy with public cloud. So what I'm smiling about is the peers and their experience and the insights is spot on. Is I predict, right, public cloud will still have a very meaningful role in terms of the future of, IT and technology and where we're headed as an industry together. But more importantly, we're going to have hybrid options. So for us, again, it's that two-tier strategy where you run private cloud on the enterprise, and then you start to seed in and woven in, how to fully integrate it with some of the standardization, some of the turnkey options, and that automation of public cloud. So I think for me, it's inspiring because I think it allows us to have that longevity, because it's not just going to be one or the other. It'll have us an option to really kind of serve our clients. The other thing too is, we're going to see a lot of which is, it's happy to be invited to be on this panel with everybody. When I was looking at our different backgrounds, because we're going to start to see a creation of new roles. So as we start to understand how do we cater to the development, the deployment, and then candidly, what Beena said, the ethical use of artificial intelligence, it's going to create a lot of different roles. And different roles bring a lot of different top talent. And when you have top talent that is diverse, that brings in this level of expertise, you start to have different creativity and high-performing teams. So I think one word I'd put it is just truly like the unbounded ambition that we have here right now, because when we look at it, the horizon is wide open in terms of next year. So if we all reflect, maybe we do that together, we reflect next December 2025, I kind of hope that some of our predictions aren't true, because I want to see that some of this creativity and then again, this unbounded ambition that I speak to basically, changes.
All right, so you mentioned the top roles and talent will move around. Do I hear you asking for resumes from everyone involved? Is this what I'm hearing, Lori?
Yeah. I mean, I love,
What's your email? We'll send you our resume. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, building a team, you guys, is really inspiring and it's a privilege. But I think one thing is if you look at the technology that we have, you have to have the people reflect it. So it goes back to what everybody has said: get people that are passionate, get cloud mindset, get provocative, get entrepreneurs, get people that are willing to take that leap. Because you're going to have to break out of, some of those set cycles or mindsets that maybe others, have lived in.
So, Lori, I would
We kind of hope.
100% agree with you. I will add one more thing, and this is like anybody that is listening. Hopefully, it's the C-suite. My peers as well as board is listening. Start from your board and your C-suite, because I think what we are seeing a lot is that there's a lot of this change and transformation, and everybody thinks that they'll have an outer in the organization, and nobody wants to touch the C-suite. It's like I actually think that the C-suite needs to transform massively for this to happen, and I think Lori is like thumbs up, and so to speak. And so, but yeah, that I will just add that to Lori what you're saying, because this transformation requires a very different style of leadership, in my view. No,
Bill, I did 2 thumbs up. It was
That sounds pretty positive.
The first thing I asked if I'm going to be with a new customer,
I did want it.
they have a chief AI officer appointed yet. And so the companies that are serious about that are putting someone in the C-suite in place to oversee AI, not only the technology, but also, as you mentioned, the ethical use of it, the bounded use of it. That's how you can tell a company is serious about it.
So, Beena, what is your view? What do you think is going to surprise us in 2025?
I think the fear cycle is going to break. Yeah, there's a lot. There has been a lot of fear around AI traditionally, and I've been in this space for quite a while, right? There's always the fear of AI taking away jobs or replacing humans. I think that fear cycle is going to break by the end of next year, Laurie. When we have this conversation, the conversation will be at the next level. So many companies are rolling out AI literacy trainings, and to Nabil's point, that's happening more and more, and we'll see that rise in the earlier part of the year as companies realize the importance of having an AI literate C-suite, an AI literate workforce. That leads to that fear cycle breaking as people get more familiar with AI and the tools and how to use those tools more productively in their jobs. So for me, I think that'll come as a shock, because we've been talking about AI and fear for such a long time. I think the fear cycle will be gone by the end of next year.
I want you to be right about that, but I'm also worried that as AI becomes more capable and plays a larger role, some employees might go, oh gosh, I'm even more afraid than ever because now I can really see what it's going to do. You don't see that happening?
It's going to be more of, I can see what AI is capable of doing and what it cannot do.
Aha.
More you learn about AI, you'd realize there are limitations that come with it. And as humans, we are very adaptable. We will, focus our energy on filling those gaps. So my bet is on humans that we are going to figure it out. And there are more and more of HR conversations on that. How do we work effectively, human and machine? What does that workforce look like? Who does what, and how do you manage that digital work plus human workforce? I think all of that is going to come to fruition. So I'm an optimist by nature, full disclaimer. So that's where I think we will go.
I like that you're betting on humans, for sure. Ryan, you spoke. I want to make sure I get your surprise for 2025. Did you have a surprise for next year?
No. I mean, I think my peers said almost exactly what I was going to say in terms of where how the deployment model might change or revert.
Mm-hmm. And Chad, you're surprised for the year 2025? You may have said it, but let me make sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I think I'm in very good alignment with my peers. I think we're going to see a lot more of this happening on premises than we are in cloud. I think we're going to start to see the practical use cases that are backed up by the true ROI that changes the complexion of their business be adopted. I think that as Beena said, we're going to see that fear cycle sort of break and realize that AI is not going to take your job, but people that know how to use AI may take your job. So you want to be one of the ones that know how to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, good. Well, all right, really for big predictions now into the future. So how will tech developments in 2025 shape the future of tech over the next 2 to 5 years? How's it looking forward? Laura, your sense of that? What's going to happen next year that shapes the rest of the decade?
I think maybe there's possibly two things. So, and we've talked about it throughout this discussion, but AI is no longer a concept for the experts, right? So now it's accessible, it's tangible, it's interactive. So I suspect we'll start seeing more hands-on experiences for different people, different levels, different functions to access and experience. The other thing is, which I'm excited for, is, maybe I'll put it this way, is a surge in new partnerships. So I hope that we start to see different organizations that wouldn't typically or traditionally come together and unite, but really take their subject matter experience, their innovation, their enthusiasm, and we start smashing up some of these organizations together to deliver and create something that was unmanageable. So I think that's going to be exciting for all of us, just again, really to see the marrying of different organizations bring their, superpowers together and put technology and different solutions to work.
Definitely think you're right about that. I mean, look at Microsoft and OpenAI. I mean, that was really a partnership. And I think AI is so complicated, it's so hard to make happen that it requires partnerships. Personal opinion. Chad, your sense of next year and how it's going to shape the years ahead?
Well, look, I think that, like Lori said, the ecosystem is going to be the key to this. If we look at the ecosystem that we saw with sort of traditional predictive AI that we've all lived with for quite a while, it was very much end-to-end use case to result focused. That's not the case with generative AI. The ecosystem is very broad, very frothy, lots and lots of startups, lots and lots of innovation happening, very modular. So the way in which we start to assemble this ecosystem to achieve these outcomes, I think is going to surprise us with some of the use cases that we come up with. And I think it's going to send us on vectors that we didn't expect in the next 2 to 5 years.
What might be one of those vectors, perhaps?
It could be things that we don't even expect right now could be augmented or even replaced by AI. It could be, think about the way that we sell today. Think about the way that we negotiate prices with our customers. A lot of these things are very algorithmic and can be very easily offloaded to AI, especially as we start to see the advent of these agentic workflows and start to see these expert agents in different areas be able to piece together an entire transaction or an entire business concept. I think the potential there is amazing.
Ryan, what do you see? What do you predict for next year that'll shape the years ahead?
Yeah, I think I'd piggyback on something Lori said at the top of the call, which the biggest opportunities in AI aren't just about doing what our software already does today. They're about solving problems that maybe were either too expensive or inefficient to try. It's like software's not a zero-sum game. It's not going to shrink markets. It's AI is not deflationary. It's going to unlock untapped potential and bring massive efficiencies to long-tail business challenges that as Chad was just saying, we might not even realize yet. So I personally can't wait to see what technology does to the global GDP growth over the next few years.
Yeah, I see the numbers. The numbers are staggering, to be sure. Beena, your sense, what's going to happen this big next year that shapes the year ahead?
In addition to what Lori, Chad, and Ryan mentioned, I think what we'll see probably is the confluence of technologies, AI working with quantum, AI and biology coming together to take to that next level. And those are going to have implications much into the future. Like if you look back at when IoT was there, right? It was really, traditional machine learning coming together with physics and chemistry. But, we've not really gone deep onto where AI or software is blending with biology to drive that next frontier in biotech or in pharma or in human care. I think there's a huge opportunity there, and I hope that's where we start exploring next year.
The AI and quantum piece I find really, really fascinating. I mean, do you think quantum is ready for that now?
AI might be the catalyst that actually pulls quantum forward into the real world. If you look at what's happening in cyber, AI and cyber, there is so much that's happened at that intersection. I call it the entanglement of cyber and AI. Quantum can have a huge role in that space. So it's not been as explored in the past few years, but 2025 could very much be the beginning of that.
Nabil, take us home. What is your big thought for next year that'll shape the years ahead?
Yeah, I mean, you said like the next decade, and that made me think that, look, this march of technology is unabated. Today we're talking about agentic AI, we'll be talking about AGI, and we'll be talking about who knows what we'll be talking about from a technology. So if we take our technology hats off, I think one thing that could just force a massive realignment everywhere will be this rise of digital workforce. The more the technology improves, like whether it's agentic AI or AGI with quantum, as Beena pointed out, this will force a realignment. We will have to fundamentally sit down as a society or as a planet or a species and figure out what is our relationship to this artificial intelligence and how can we actually coexist in a very productive way. No, I'm not predicting, Skynet and this. I'm very optimistic myself. So I think that would define the next decade, because it's not just about technology. We'll have to realign the way we form companies and the way we form organizations. And then, yes, for some people, it will be massive opportunity. It'll be amazing. But for some people, it'll be massive hardships. So we can't leave the social aspect out. So I think that realignment will happen all around. And I think the next decade is all about it. But I don't think you asked me a prediction for a decade, but what the hell? I will predict the decade here. I think at the end of the decade, if we are, and hopefully we're talking about it, that my hope is that the rise of artificial intelligence will force us to become more human. Because there'll always be things that AI can do better, but that will force us to go back to the core of what makes us human. And that really would be the combination between the two. So I'm hoping at the end of the decade, we are more human than we are today. And I'll leave it there.
I think on that note, that pretty much wraps us up. Chad, Ryan, Nabil, Lori, Beena, thank you so much. I learned a ton of stuff. Let's talk again next year.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.